by your own lust. Now, that word lust is heavy, well, King James. It simply means desire. Okay? Please believe. That's what it means. Tasha can show you at the end. Lust is desire. Every man is drawn away when when every man is tempted when he's drawn away from his own desire. Okay, let's go through it. So your temptation begins. What is a temptation? It begins at the moment that your desire for chocolate biscuits, the moment that your desire for bum cheeks, the moment that your desire for breasts, the moment that your desire for gossip, the moment that your desire to go window shopping, the moment that your desire to talk to an ex-boyfriend, the moment that your desire to receive ungodly comfort, the moment that your desire to drink alcohol, every man is tempted when he is drawn away by his own desire. So when you're drawn by your desire for whatever it is that you desire, now think about your desires now. What draws you, that's your temptation. You're tempted when you're drawn away by your own desire and enticed. So the temptation begins when you're drawn and enticed. This is principles. You're drawn, but not just drawn, but enticed. The temptation is not the drawing. How many times have I said this? If I'm on a beach in Brazil and women are half naked with very shapely bodies, and I see a woman and I'm drawn, that's not the temptation. That's natural. If I see her body and I say, wow, quickly, I need to make a decision, that's not the sin. The temptation has begun, but the sin hasn't manifested, which we're going to go into. But even the drawing is not the temptation. The enticement is the temptation. That's the nuance I want to share here, because it says drawn away by his own desire and enticed. So if I see her and say, wow, and turn away quickly. But if I see this woman and say, wow, and then I get enticed, which is likely to happen, wow, and now I'm enticed, meaning I'm locked in. I'm enticed now. Now I can't stop looking. The temptation begins. Every man is tempted when he's drawn by his own lust and enticed. Okay? Maybe a woman can give a female example for this afterwards, because I know the male examples don't really apply for women, because women don't watch man like that. But for man, that would be a very obvious one for us. Verse 15. Then when the lust is conceived, this is important, it brings forth sin. Did you see that there? So let's go back to the beach. The woman's come out the beach looking glorious and splendid. I'm drawn in. It's not the temptation yet, but now I'm enticed. Now I'm tempted because I've allowed that thought to linger. Now I'm just like, wow. But the sin hasn't happened. That's not a sin. You see that? Even what I've just done there is not a sin. The draw and the entice is not the sin. That was a natural response. Now, where does the sin start? When the lust has conceived. When the conception of that lust manifests, that's where the sin comes in. So temptation is not sin. To be tempted is natural. It's according to your desire, and most of those desires are natural. Temptation is not sin. Being enticed in a moment is not sin. Liking something that is appealing to you is not sin, whether it's the woman or the chocolate biscuit for a woman. Um, when the lust has conceived, it brings forth the sin. So it's the conception of the lust, the desire, the conception of that desire. Women give birth, right? So you know what conception means. The moment that the seed of the man, the sperm goes inside of your belly and conceives the egg, that's the moment that the sin is. That's what it looks like when the lust is conceived, right? So when that desire is conceived, it starts to create, and it starts with sin. I just want to give a practical example. When that woman walks past me and I turn around to look at her from behind, the lust has been conceived. It's a sin now. When she was in front of me, I couldn't, that was out of my control. When I turn around, like most men do when they see a woman walking past, when I turn around and watch her from behind, now I'm in sin. That's the sin. So I'm not making excuses for sin, to be clear. When I turn around, I've sinned because now the lust is conceived and it's conceived and it brings forth sin. However, it then says, and sin, when it is finished, brings forth death. So there is levels to sin. That turning around and watching her might not necessarily lead to death. It's when I allow that to go the full way, the finished way. I mean, what would it look like for me to finish that? Go up to her, maybe, try and sleep with her, maybe fornicate with her. The end result of that is death. We see it with David and Bathsheba. David decides to stay home in his mansion one day when he should have been at war. And he goes on his balcony and he sees a beautiful naked woman in the shower called Bathsheba. He looks out the window. That wasn't the sin. He saw her. He was enticed. That wasn't the sin. He was tempted. He's like, who's this woman? He says to his servant, who is this woman? Go. And they said, this is Uriah's wife. And he said, bring her to me. He's sinned now. It's conceived. The conception is that now I want to go forward with this, so I'm going to continue. But it didn't bring death until it was finished. His baby died. The death came. He could have left it. He could have brought her to his house and said, you know what, I've got a change of heart. Sorry, I've sinned, Lord, I repent. I'm sending her home. David went the full way. He took her, he laid with her. She brought forth a baby. Well, the baby died because that's what sin does. It brings forth death. In this case, God says, I won't kill you. Sometimes it will kill the person. I've said many times, many people are dying because they're living in immorality. Well, here's the kind of answer to that too. It brings death, whether the death of your child, the death of yourself, or the death of something, your spiritual life. So I hope that makes sense. I really did want to break that down. So when the sin is finished, we've learned what lust is, what